Google looks for trust.
Yeah.
Now, a search engine, can it look for trust? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Tech Bakaya, another episode. And today I have a very special guest. The reason why I say I have a special guest is because with the launch of ChatGPT, you would have seen a lot of influencers talking about that you don't need SEO anymore because ChatGPT is taking over. To which I actually asked few of my SEO experts, and when I classify someone as expert, they are the practitioner. So they have done SEO with their own hands for more than a decade, and they disagree or they agree. I don't know. We'll find that out. So today we have an SEO practitioner who has been doing SEO for past decade. So ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Hasnain. Hasnain, how are you?
I'm good, man. Good. Thanks for having me here.
Man, why don't you tell a little bit about yourself, who you are, what you do? I mean, we all know now what you do, but where do you work, where do you live, etc.?
Yeah, so I head the operations at eWeb Marketing.
Yeah.
We are a digital marketing agency based out of Chatsworth, and we help businesses generate leads through SEO, Google and Facebook ads. My core expertise is SEO and Google Analytics, and I've been doing that for the last a decade now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you know a little bit. Hasnain, can I ask you to come a little bit forward towards the mic? Because last time I got comments on my YouTube video that the golden nuggets coming from the guests weren't audible enough.
Okay, yeah, sure.
While it's a good thing because I get comments, but yeah, they're not the good ones. SEO, it's an interesting thing, right? Search engine optimization. Now, my audiences, they do contain a lot of marketers, but they also contain a lot of non-marketers. Can I just ask you, how would you define SEO for a non-marketer?
Sure. SEO in a nutshell is nothing but, getting your business up on first page of Google. Right. That's as simple as it gets. Right. And of course, what Google has done is lay down a list of guidelines, which we SEO practitioners basically follow and make sure, it's well enough for those guidelines to rank your page up. Right. So the entire focus is to basically make sure, we tick all the boxes which Google wants. And as long as you do that and Google finds that, you're the expert, you are the, you provide trust, and you've got experience in that particular field, they're just going to help you to rank your page on first page.
And there's something very interesting thing you said. Google looks for trust. Now, a search engine, can it look for trust? How does that work?
So basically what it does, it basically tries to understand who the author is. Right. What kind of experience that author has.
Author as in someone who has written the
copy on the article, and what kind of experience that particular person has. And once the article is written, how well it is received, right? And the moment it sees that more people are relating to that content, it builds trust, right? And more people are sharing. And that's how trust is established over a period of time. And since it has trust, you'll automatically see that the article is shared a lot more. And that's how traffic is generated, on a particular content piece. That's how the AI is able to understand a trust factor on that particular content piece. So it's very important that rather than producing n number of articles, the focus needs to be on a particular niche, a particular content piece, and how well you're defining it. For your audience to engage and trust on that article.
Right. And obviously the authors, or say for example now the marketers, writing that content or producing that content, what are some of the factors they keep in mind to ensure that, or to engage or to measure that their trust factor is increasing on search engine or decreasing?
Let me just go back a step. So the guiding principle for any content is an acronym known as EEAT.
EEAT.
Yeah. That's experience, expertise, authoritativeness, and trust.
Wow. Okay.
Right. So as long as you are using those principles, right, and writing content or creating a video any piece of content you're doing, whether it's an ebook or anything else, as long as you're following those principles, Google will automatically treat your article as something of high level and trust, and it will allow you to basically be on the top pages of Google.
EEAT.
EEAT, yeah.
Now, how does Google investigates EEAT and then analyzes EEAT to rank? Like, I mean, so asking like a golden retriever 4-year-old, because Google is a machine, right? So, like, how would they recognize these things?
So they means AI.
I know you're thinking, what a dumb question that is.
No, not really. But I think a lot of people are not aware that Google had an AI rank algorithm a few years ago already. It's just because of ChatGPT and its visibility right now. People think AI just come in. Google has been using RankBrain. That's the algorithm name.
RankBrain.
For quite some time, where it can pick up how people are using key terms, context to basically game the system, how what sort of bad links people have basically created just to improve their authority on the internet, and have been basically I wouldn't say penalizing, but basically rewarding other authors or content creators to come up on top instead of these other authors, right? So it's already been there, right? So it uses EEAT acronym is not a rank algorithm, right? It's not an algorithm which basically penalizes you. It's just a principle which the search quality team uses to understand how that article is written and whether it serves the user intent at the end of the day. So the entire game is the content piece serving the user intent. As long as it does that, and it comes from a person who, so for example, I can write, if I write an article on SEO, because I've got that experience, I've practically used and I've implemented strategies for my clients, and when I submit an article, it can see all that because it can see my social history and all that. But for example, when I start writing about construction and I don't have any experience on that, of course my article is not going to rank because I don't have that kind of experience right onto it. So that's the difference. So what that does is the AI basically then looks at different keywords, content. It can also predict what kind of users would interact with, what kind of click-through rates users would basically get, and then ranks it right? So it's quite advanced. Now, of course, Google has also launched its own AI known as Google Bard. It's not as successful as ChatGPT, but I think they are tweaking those systems in the background. But I'm sure in the future, you will see a big role of AI playing in SEO.
Yeah, right. When someone asks, like, will ChatGPT take over Google SEO? First, I roll my eyes. I'm like, yeah, another discussion on AI. But the thing is that if you take a step back and think about it critically, they both are two different things.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Right? It's one is listings, right? One is search results. One is getting you to with an intent to search, buy, or make a transaction. ChatGPT is there to answer your questions, and that not also accurately, right?
Right now, it's not accurate because I think a large amount of, so basically what you need to first understand is ChatGPT is a language model, right? So it's an information has been fed, lots of files on the internet have been crawled, and that data is basically being given to that AI. Now, what we have seen, largely that data is US based, right? So in Australia specifically, if you are using ChatGPT, you have to be really careful of what the content it produces, because there are a lot of guidelines in Australia which are not similar to the US. So I'll give you an example. Like for an electrician, let's say you're writing a blog content for an electrician, and you're picking up a topic, how to save money this winter, right? And you're writing a blog content. It'll give you tips of the things and to tweak around your house, which legally you can't do here. You need to have an electrician to do. While in the US, you can do it yourself.
Wow.
So the important thing for marketers in Australia at least is to understand what content ChatGPT is producing. You need to review them. If you've not reviewed them and if you just publish it online, your clients are going to come back at you for things you've written there, right?
Absolutely.
Again, ChatGPT can produce content at scale, but then that's the thing, right? That's not what Google wants. Google wants a content piece which is it answering users' intent? Because a user has a question. Are you solving a problem? Until unless your content is doing that, then there's no point, right? Because, like, for example, there are millions of people using ChatGPT. Now imagine the amount of content, B-grade content which is coming out.
B-grade.
Yeah, exactly. It's B-grade content, right? So for any business, it's very important to understand, yes, ChatGPT is there. It's free, and anyone can access it. But at the end of the day, the only reason you're running a business is because you're trying to solve a problem, right? And you need to make sure that any content piece which is going out is answering a question. It's answering, it's solving a problem to your users. As long as it's doing that and it's giving relevant advice or tips or tricks or whatever it is, what you're trying to target, that's fine. It'll automatically, Google will see that value in that article and it'll start promoting that. Then it becomes a game of who's got more authority, right? Who's recommended the most? Does that particular content piece has got a lot of referrals? Is other websites recommending this website? And then other basically criteria come into the picture, and then Google basically decides, okay, now how would I list it? And again, this happens on a daily basis. So the rankings change on a daily basis. It's not, it's constant for certain instances, but it always keeps on moving on because always is trying to see, because it's always running experiments as well. So you need to understand, it's just trying to see, okay, if I put this business up, would it get more click-through rates? Because at the end of the day, for Google, every user is Google's client. It needs to serve its client. And the only way it does is to make sure that the moment the search listings are listed, it's easy for the user to just get an answer and move out.
Right.
That's its job, fundamentally. So yeah, as long as you're doing that,
one day I did ask you how does SEO work, and you gave me a very nice analogy of going into a library. You remember that?
Yeah, I did.
Can you for our audience, can you recite that analogy again?
Yeah. So basically, just think your business as a book in a library, right? So when you're doing a search, generally a search starts with a very general thing. So if I go to a library and ask for a book on gardening, the librarian is basically going to say, go to this aisle, this section, and you will find a lot of books on gardening. But then again, you might need a specific topic you're looking for gardening. So until unless you are specific enough to ask that to the librarian, he can't guide you to go to that particular section. The same way how Google works, right? You need to be very specific in terms of the searches you're doing online to get the results it wants. Because what Google does is puts every topic into a category, right? And the moment a search is done. So, for example, if I basically go and type in the word remove list, it'll go into that particular folder and I'll pick up all the files from there and it'll show the results based on, again, expertise, experience,
EEAT.
authority, and trustworthiness, right? And so, yeah, so, in that way, so every business is like a book. Which has chapters. So in that case, a business is a website who has a website and has pages. So if the pages are well written, right, those pages would rank automatically for those categories in Google.
You'll keep reading
book, right? And people, and the more people basically interact with that book, of course it gets more popular,
right?
And the more trust is get achieved because people are then sharing those book, and through social signals, Google is able to understand that that's that author I can trust because I can see a lot of traffic going there. Not only just traffic, but I can see a lot of clicks happening. People are purchased because Google actually at the end of the day can monitor everything, right? And then again, if you're using a Google product, so like Google Analytics, all that data goes back to Google anyways to understand how they've interacted on your website, which most of the businesses does, right? They all have analytics installed, so all that information anyways relates. So it has a pretty good picture in terms of how good the website is, how good the content is, whether people are clicking on the website, and then and are they happy? Are they spending more time, or are they bouncing back? So all that information relate back.
Give me a non-LinkedIn strategy on how to start with SEO. If it's a startup and they want to grow organically, what are the things they need to consider before they taking that decision, and what are the steps they need to take?
So the first thing I would ask that particular startup or a business is, are they local or international?
Oh, interesting.
Right? Because I would want to, because if they're local, so let's take for example of a plumber, right? And plumber will be a local person, right? And so I would then ask them, and again, these are things which would not cost you anything, right? So the first thing I would recommend them is to open up a Google My Business profile, right? For their local SEO strategy. When they do that, what they can do is, immediately start populating that profile and, reaching out to their clients to get their reviews. Now, what happens there is, because they're based in a particular suburb or a locality, Google, basically with their map listings, want to promote local businesses. So, for example, if a plumber is based in Chatswood, for example, Google will only show plumbers in Chatswood. It's not going to show people from everywhere.
Of course,
right? And that way, what happens is you instantly are able to get on the search listing in the map results, as long as you have.
What was that called? Pigeon update or no?
Yeah, it's on Pigeon update. Okay. Yeah. In that, and what happens there is. The moment you do that, you have a profile up and running, and your phone number, so instantly up there. And I'm assuming that the business has a website. So the default thing is you have a website, and without doing any kind of marketing, if you just set up a profile like that, and then the next step is to basically reach out to all online directories in Australia, and just make sure that your location, address, and your phone number is consistently same, so that Google can understand that you are a local business, because as long as those profile has the similar phone number, it will help you from a local strategy point of view.
It's such a basic step, and I think a lot of people
miss out on that.
I think a lot of people. I don't think a lot of local businesses miss out on that. I think a lot of international businesses miss out on that. Let me come to that. So what do you think if a business or if an organization? So I come from a tech space. So if organization is US based but they're expanding in Australia, they are international. What do you think about what happens there?
So the first step is to make sure that you have a local website, or if you don't have a local website, basically have a website with Australian address. So when someone is basically going onto the website, knows that you have a presence in Australia, I would still basically, and I'm assuming if you are in Australia, I'm sure you can still have a location. So get that listing up and running, so you know that there is a business here. And I would basically make sure that I'll focus on creating all the pages and make sure that I spend a lot of time creating the content on the website. Now, the second thing is, like, website is one. I think the more focus would be on making sure that the website is fast and light, right? And the reason I share that with you is I think in 2023, 2024, most likely 2024, Google's going to release an update, where Core Vital update, where it's primarily going to make that as one of their ranking algorithms. So if the website is not fast and light, it's then going to recommend other websites. So it's not going to penalize you, but it's going to recommend other websites comparatively. So your competitors then might have an edge.
So the business owners who are saying that I really need a 10 minutes video on the homepage, and once someone comes in, that video should go on, and then I need some form pop-up so I can capture leads. That's not going to work.
There's an alternative to that. So ideally what you could do is probably host that video on a YouTube, right? Rather than hosting it on your website, and that way it saves time. But the idea is your homepage needs to be very light. Right. So not heavy images. Your images needs to be compressed. Because the idea is, again, when someone is landing on your website, there's only two goals. You want your user to understand what you're offering, and you want your user to basically either make a call or convert. And if you have a lot of elements running on the website, that's distracting. So the other thing which you need to understand is these days everybody has a very short attention span. Right. So if there are too many elements going on the website, you're actually distracting the user. It's your job as a website owner to guide the user on the website. So then the next question is, what's the important thing? You just want to relay your message. You want to make sure that the user understand what you're offering, solution, answer, whatever it is. And then what's the next step, right? Either you're taking them through a journey or navigating through different pages, or end goal for any business is, okay, how do you reach out to us, right? That should be the purpose, because once they submit those details and once they reach out to you, you as a brand ambassador of a business can convince them, very easily comparatively to a website. Right. And that's the goal, right? So for any businesses, whether it's a software related one, the whole goal needs to be, so the funnel is the moment they come in and they find you, your website educates, your website then converts, and then the sales team basically reaches out. And then it goes into a complete educational journey where, you explain your product or services, and then the call is taken from the client to basically then move ahead from there.
Very interesting over here. One thing I wouldn't say I would disagree, but I would compliment is, in my experience, people don't have short attention span. They have a selective attention span. Right? Otherwise, people won't read long discussion on Quora.
True.
Right? There are still chords of people emotions that we don't touch. Specifically in B2B space. We don't touch emotions properly. We don't touch juicy news properly. We don't touch negative emotions or negative news properly, right? Which other media do touch, and that's why I think there is a selective consumption of knowledge. One thing I got from what you are saying is the SEO strategy is pretty much, or needs to be pretty much aligned with your marketing strategy. It's not a different thing. It's not a different field of physics, right? You need to know the 3 laws of motion to get ahead, right? Because you were saying that someone comes to your website, the intention is for them to know what you do, and then understand that what you do aligns with what they need. And once that aligns, then make a decision whether to give you a call or move to another website or move to another vendor, which is basically marketing, right? Marketing is, helping you make a decision. With that thought, when someone, now we are coming in the realms of marketers. When a marketer comes to you and goes like, hey, Hasnain, we need to make an SEO strategy, right? Obviously, he goes like, hey, listen, are you local or are you international? That's step 1. Step 2 is, okay, if you're local, international. If you're international, have you got a local website? Yes, no. If you are local, have you got a My Business page allocated? Okay, let's look at your Google reviews, etc., and then start looking on your on page, off page, right? So what after that? Where do you go after that? If you have solved all the basic technical issues, what is the strategy? Do you look at content? Do you look at what goes after that?
I'll just take a step back. I think once we have established the basics, the fundamentals of the business and what they do and what the target audience and everything is, we basically then focus on 2 factors, on-page and off-page factors. So we start off with on-page, and the focus is to basically make sure that we have a great site structure, right? The reason we focus on that is so that how those pages get categorized in Google search, right? So we make sure that the URLs, the page titles, descriptions, the content is aligned with the keyword research we have done, right? Because as long as those are aligned, it's a great way of just ranking instantly, right?
Give me an example.
So for example, let's take one of my clients. It's a removals company.
Yep.
So and they basically gave me a brief that they wanted to focus on the northern parts of Sydney, right? And so what we did was, understood what suburbs they wanted to target.
Right.
So what we then ended up doing was creating a list of location-based URLs, right? With an intent to basically tell Google that they're based or they operate in those suburbs. And so we created URL structures around the suburbs, created content around that in terms of, the services they offer, why they're better compatible with other competitors, and the cost and the most frequently asked questions. The moment we did those pages, they instantly started ranking because it just gave relevance. Because when someone, for example, was typing in, Mossman removalist, right? Because we had a great page on Mossman, and we had talked about, their services in there. Google said, okay, when someone types in, removalist, so imagine someone based in Mossman just types in the word, because they're going to type in the word removalist.
Removalist, yes.
Right? And because we've created a page known as Mossman removalist, it was an exact match from a search intent point of view, because
right. Even
it
if
is serving.
So even if they don't type Mossman,
Yeah,
they are in Mossman.
They're in Mossman, they'll come up. So they instantly just ranked.
So location is a very important
factor in terms of doing that, right? And so we started creating similar pages strategy for them, and so we pretty much ranked for a list of northern base, because what they identified as a business very soon was, they said these suburbs were more profitable compared to others. So rather than focusing on whole of Sydney, we identified the suburbs where we were the most profitable, and we focused our entire efforts just in that. Rather than targeting words like removalist, which has roughly 22,000 search results. The moment they said, okay, this is where we make more money, we took that approach. We ranked them well on that, and suddenly what we started seeing was they started coming up first page on removalist as well.
Right.
For the organic term, which was a bonus, because our effort was just basically focusing on the local one, and because we did that and we are appearing, it slowly helped them to basically come up for the main term as well.
So ensuring you have your specific,
yeah,
you have a niche,
yeah,
and then basing that on your content.
Content
aligns with your niche and your specificity. And that's very important. That's very good. So what are the next step now? Now you have established that. What are the next steps?
So then the next step is to basically make sure that your call to actions on the websites are there. Make sure it's there at multiple places, just not on the homepage banner section. Making sure your website page speed is really good, and then focusing wholly on content marketing, right? So the next step from there, from the on page, is then creating a plan of action for content marketing, and what efforts are you going to basically make in that.
Right.
And that's the most important and the difficult step, right?
Why is that?
Because it does not give you immediate results, right? And with businesses, what they want to do is month after month, they want to see, is there any metric to see how much if I'm investing this much, can I get a return?
Oh, that's where it comes from. I have spent $5,000. Now, why am I not ranking one in 1 month?
Right. So SEO is a long-term strategy.
Yep.
Generally, rule of thumb, to see some sort of results, it'll take you roughly around 6 months.
Yeah,
right?
Easy.
And to see definitive results, it'll take you up to 12 months, right? And it's like, I generally try and explain that as offline marketing. Let's say if I'm starting a new business, right? And I go out to networking groups, trying to network with people, talking about my business and what do I do. It'll take me at least a year and a half, 2 years for people to know me, what I do, have some trust in terms of, the expertise I have within that particular field. Take that and flip it again into Google. Google, so the moment you start a business and you start doing all these things, it needs to have it needs to understand, how much time you have spent online, right? Or what's your age online in terms of whatever activities you've done.
Yep.
So if you're going to just put a website and not do anything, it's not going to recommend you. It wants to see activity on a regular basis. And once you do that, it then understands that you're putting in a lot of investment, you're putting in a lot of effort, you're coming out with great content which is helping users. Let me then recommend you, right? So the whole focus goes on basically creating a content plan, whether again means one of the techniques we use is through blogs, because that helps us to target a decent number of key phrases and key terms, right? Because not everybody uses the same term. People ask questions, the searches are quite different because there might be a different life cycle of of the business in terms of asking, because someone who might be in a research phase, they might ask a lot of questions. Someone who is ready to buy is probably going to do just search your business and just give you a call. So you need to cater to a lot of audiences there, right? So your content basically need to make sure that you're catering to everyone, right? And so that way, when you're writing content, it's important that you also factoring things like writing FAQs, because you don't know what life cycle they are in, right? And by doing that, you're answering questions, making it easier for them. So the entire job of the website needs to be is they should answer. It should be a guide based to answer all the questions related to your business. Because at the end of the day, someone who's searching has a problem and you're just answering them. As simple as that. And that way, once you have that intact, and let's say once you start ranking through your blogs, it of course helps you then slowly to appear in different searches. So what you're trying to do is you're trying to basically come up for different terms. So creating more real estate for you online for different terms, and the more visibility you get, more impressions you get, more clicks you get, and that's how you basically can grow your brand. The second part, which is the off-link, the off-site strategy, is to basically build links to your website. Right. Ideally, here again, it's one of the most toughest process to basically gather legitimate links. But the idea is to basically reaching out to potential people who can recommend you as a business. Whether it's bloggers who, so for example, you are you run a hotel, for example, or an accommodation, and you can then reach out to travel bloggers who can come experience your place, write an article about you, and then link back to you. That to give you an example. So that's the strategy. Again, that does not happen. It takes 2 or 3 months to get one link. So because you need to outreach, you need to convince them why they need to start writing about your business and to link back to you. So and link building is one of the most important factors when it comes to SEO. The stronger the profile is from an authority, and that's where authority comes. So someone like an SMH, when they publish an article, the reason it ranks top is because they've got good amount of authority. So when they publish an article, it instantly ranks. So if you can get a link from SMH, let's say your local business, and I'm using a local newspaper here. If you get an article from them,
Sydney Morning Herald
for the audience, it's an instant, your article will instantly rank because Google trusts SMH, and if you're getting a link back from them, it's very likely that your article would be recommended on one of the first pages of Google.
So what are the difference between referral links and backlinks? Are they the same thing? Different?
So I'll give an example of a referral link. So for example, let's say you have a business and you sign up for Yellow Pages, right? And you create a profile on there, and they basically send back to you. That's a normal backlink, right? Let's say I'm a plumber and I partner up with another company and they link back to me. That's a referral link.
Right. So backlink is something where you create an account with some other website where you can get business and then link to your website. So that's a backlink. So like a backdoor.
At the end of the day, both are links. It's just that it's categorized as referral, and that just as a.
But referral would have more authority, I would assume, because someone is talking about you.
Yeah, because again, means not really, depends on how authoritative they are as a
Right.
business.
So someone who is referring needs to be authoritative as
Authoritative
well.
at the end of the
So
day.
not any Joe bloke will
Yeah,
say
so for
something.
example, someone who just started a business a year ago and suddenly start referring you, if they don't have authority, they might refer you 100,000 times. Google will still not rank you. But as I said to you earlier, an authoritative website, when it refers back to you, it can just do wonders. So the idea is to how do you basically reach out to these very authoritative websites. The reason Google does that is because they've created a name in that industry, right? Because again, coming back to the same thing, experience, authority, EEAT, right? Expertise and trustworthiness. Because they have that, it's just easy for them to provide that, and it just passes through when they provide a link. Yeah.
Such a great concept of this EEAT.
Yeah.
Not only on SEO, you can apply in your whole marketing strategy, on your content, whatever you write, whatever you produce, whatever you draw. Has to come with
means if that's the goal, trust. Yeah, if that's the goal, any content. So content has in content writing, and that's why you can write as much as content you want on AI. If you're using those principles, you're then the idea is you solving a problem for the user at the end of the day. As long as that is getting solved, you can take a seat back and relax.
That's good, man. That's very good for our audience, man. And I feel very fortunate you are telling me all these things because working for some of the companies or consulting some of the companies from US or basic companies from outside of Australia, I've seen that they have very little knowledge of SEO. Fair to that because their SEO team is in US, right? And they want to come here and expand in Australia or expand in APAC, right? And sometimes they don't realize how complicated that process can be because you're coming in a different country, so the search will operate differently, as you rightly suggested. And a lot of marketeers who are hired in Australia to expand that US business are hired as field marketing managers, field marketers as they call themselves, right? And they still rely on .com website because they don't have a .com.au or they don't have a /ENAU subdomain. And they see that obviously there's not enough organic growth from Australia, so they have to rely a lot on events. Now, an average event will cost you, if you're doing it by yourself for your own audience, will be anywhere around 10K. If you're sponsoring it, it'll be around 20K. 20K, that can be a whole budget of SEO. And imagine the wonders it can do.
Yeah, I mean, again, it depends on the industry, I would say.
It's tech.
Yeah.
So if you're selling technology,
yeah,
like I love events. I like events. I think that you need to have events. It's a mix. You can't just go on one channel only. But if you're selling tech, you got to invest in tech.
Yeah, of course.
You can't. I won't recommend selling a software, printing it on a brochure. Do you know what I mean? Like you, as a tech company or as a software company, you have to have an authority on Google.
Yeah, of course. It means I think a lot of times companies forget that they still need to have brand awareness, whether that results into metrics which they want to define in. At the end of the day, brand awareness is also something. Again, if you're not visible online, how are people going to trust you? Right. So secondly is the expectation of getting results instantly. I think that's one of the things which our industry fights with, because everybody who wants to do SEO wants results instantly.
Where is this coming from? They want result because I've seen it in tech as well. Like they want results instantly. Yeah. And the way they calculate the results is number of leads. Yeah. MQLs. Yeah. And obviously the revenue generated. But what they forget about is the brand development.
But it's all about visibility. I think the metrics needs to be changed. It's what needs to be focused on is how visible are you as a brand. How much time people are spending, because that's an indication of, let's say, if you're able to generate traffic and if you're getting people engaged on your website for more than a minute or 2 minutes, that shows that the efforts SEO is basically, bringing you in, right? So it's important that first the focus needs to be on visibility, right? Secondly is, depending on, again with technology, it's the process is much longer. For people to basically again believe in the technology, so to give an example, let's say if a technology is offering, that's why you see a lot of softwares offering, free 14-day or 30 days trial, right? And I'll give you like an SEO tool, like an SEM Rush, right? Again, it's industry known, everybody uses it. It still provides a trial at the end of the day, right? For you to go and experience, and so that you can basically see with your own eyes, how the tech basically interacts with you and solves your problem. So so that journey is again long, because once they find you, they need to basically then experiment with the tool and then decide, right? So there are two components to it. Is you need to divide it into two components. One is first finding you as a technology, and then basically them basically using the technology to understand whether it fits their business or not. So in order to do that, that's why brand awareness is important. So a lot of investment needs to be done to basically make that brand awareness online for the company. And then the next step is basically taking them through an educational route, right? I think a lot of businesses, that's why I think they have these challenges, because what they try and do is immediately go and sell. The moment they land on the website, everything is about selling and not educating, right? And the moment you change that process into educating, it just does wonders straight away, because then at the end of the day, you're not there to just for a sign up. You're basically sending them guides, explaining how the product works and how it works well with your business if it's a tech thing. And so I think that education should be the approach when it comes to specifically tech based things.
I think you hit the nail on the spot, right? So education and awareness is, you should invest in that. And quite often, in the greed of having immediate results, you forget the long-term investments.
Because what happens there is then people are just looking at, okay, can we rank for that particular keyword? Right? And so then the objective changes. The objective basically then becomes, okay, can we rank for that term? But that term is bringing you results or not, the entire focus game changes. That's why content marketing takes a long time, because once you strategically decide, this is how we're going to educate, these are the contents we're going to create, then at the end of year we're going to see how much traffic is generated, what users have done, what kind of experiences they've got, and then we again are going to tweak our strategies around it. That basically then helps businesses to basically get a better.
So you reckon content marketers are not going to go out of job because of ChatGPT?
No, definitely not. It's definitely helped us in terms of creating a lot of automated tasks. It's actually helped us. Creating a lot more ideas, making sure our click-through rates and giving different variations. So I personally use ChatGPT, and every time I'm writing a title, description, or a headline tag, I'm always testing ChatGPT to see if they can come up with a better headline. Right. So I use that tool to my advantage. But I don't think so. It's
So a colleague asked me this, that do you think ChatGPT? He asked me the same question. Do you think ChatGPT will replace the content writers or the bloggers? And to that I said, look, here's the thing, right? If a technology is complementing the basic human behavior, it will thrive. If a technology is hindering the basic human behavior, it will fail. I'll give you an example. And this is my own opinion. I'm more than happy to be proven wrong about it. And this is how I'll close this podcast is, so for example, ChatGPT is complementing a lot of things that we do. It's obviously going to thrive, right? But say, for example, you come up with Oculus or something like that, which you will put on your face and watch movies in that and immerse in that experience. But the whole experience of watching movies with someone else and debating on the dialogues, on the script, etc., is gone, right? So you're hindering the basic human requirement, That's why it's not working. That's why no one is spending 3,600 USD on that particular
I think
thing.
it's early. So personally, again, this is just my opinion. I think it's early. I do believe that as humans we'll evolve, and that's the direction we're headed.
Yeah.
Personally, I do believe, because I've been a part of a few setups where I've actually gone and experienced that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You reckon that's good?
Not right now, because the technology is not that great. But I think give it 10 years, and you'll
We'll do this podcast after 10 years on whether Oculus works or not.
Yeah. Because I think Facebook has done, like, I think I'm not sure of the number, but has done a decent size of investment into VR technology. They've gone all in. So a big they have, yeah. So I don't think so. That's
Look, I'm not against VR technology per se.
It's just it's not good right now. The experience
what do you use it for is where.
So for example, I experience taking a roller coaster ride in Cairo, and it just felt like I was there. It really felt like that, because I had the entire experience from moving and everything. But then again, having the thing on your head does not seem right.
Yep.
So if it's like a lens and just goes in your eyes, where you don't need to have that, then it would make more sense, right? So there was an episode on, I think, Black Mirror, which already did that.
Oh, really?
So there was a lens where it basically the VR thing, lens and does that. Yeah.
So coming back from the future,
Yeah.
so in a nutshell,
Yeah.
SEO is marketing. So it's basic marketing 101 that you need to opt to be visible online and help your customers make decisions.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it means it's like anyone who's starting a business. Step one, have a website. Step two, get a local listing if possible. Step three, try and means if you can afford someone to do it for you, or if you have time. Again, SEO is not something someone can't learn, and of course, but a professional coming would only speed up things for you.
Yep.
And basically, put in your investment in basically making sure that your website is Google friendly, and you're focusing on your content. And as long as you're doing that, you'll be up in your Google results straight away.
Hasnain, thank you so much for the chat.
Thanks for having me.
Pleasure to have you. Thank you.
Thanks again.